सिया राम जय जय राम सिया राम।
सबको रिझाता चल, सबसे निभाता चल, सबको रिझाता चल, मिल जाएंगे राम। राम नाम का अलख जगाता चल, मिल जाएंगे राम। राम धुन गाता चल, राम धुन गाता चल, राम।
सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। We had started studying how happiness is a comparative state. The experience of happiness is in comparison to a previous experience that you've just had. And that's why you experience it as happiness, right? So that's where we were, right? So happiness is a comparative state. So shall we continue? Has anyone any questions up to this point? If not, we can continue. When actor dancer Gene Kelly is famously singing and dancing in the rain. You're familiar with the song, right? Singing and dancing in the rain. Is he experiencing the same happiness that a new mother experiences, or that a scientist who has just found a cure for terminal illness, or a thief after a successful heist? How does the center court champion at Wimbledon feel? Are all these happy experiences the same feeling? How do we feel after a fun evening with friends, or having caught a train in the nick of time, after a good run? How do we feel when we have helped someone? When two people claim to be happy, is their subjective experience the same? At all the times we have been happy, was the experience identical? So what do you answer to this? Is your answer yes or no? Every time you've been happy, have you felt exactly the same thing?
No.
Right. No, right? And yet we take a stance that happiness is only one. So it just seems so counterintuitive. How is that even possible? Is the Wimbledon champion feeling just like maybe a new mother who just given birth to a child? And like, is it the same feeling? So obviously not, right? So it seems that it is a very wrong theory that there is there is one happiness. There are so many different happinesses. So now let's see if we have any resolution of this problem. Though happiness is one, it feels different. Why? Because happiness is a comparative state. We feel happiness or sadness in comparison to a previous experience. Philosophically, I hope, excuse me, it's always clear that whenever we use the word happiness, we imply unhappiness. But here, because we are assuming that people have not studied Vedanta when they're reading this book, therefore we say we feel happiness or sadness in comparison to a previous experience. For all Vedanta students, you will know that the or sadness was totally unnecessary in this statement. If our hand is forced, okay, so happiness is the same, but it feels very, very different in all these different situations. Why does it feel so different? Because it's a comparative state. Now, this comparative state thing we have to understand carefully. We feel happiness or sadness in comparison to a previous experience. If a hand is forced into a vice, the pressure will cause pain. If your hand is forced into some metallic object like that, like a trap, it will cause pain, right? If it is released, it will feel good. It was caught in that trap, in that metal trap, and then it's left. Feel good. Yet, no, if it was released, it will feel good. But think, before the hand was caught in the vice, the hand was free. Yet, there was no pleasurable experience. Later, there is. What is the difference between the two states? Just think about it. Now, are you experiencing any happiness in your hand? No. But suppose it was caught in a vice and then left. And suddenly, this will feel happy again. It's not again, it will feel happy. So, what is the difference between the free hand first and the free hand later on? In both cases, you have the free hand, right? What is the difference? Only the preceding experience. The just freed hand feels pleasurable, while the one which was always free doesn't. Okay, so what are we trying to establish? How happiness is a comparative state. It is compared to the previous experience you went through. The same phenomenon occurs at the mental level. When one is agitated and the agitations quell, we call that state happiness. Okay, please equate it to that. Here is my hand, it is free. Then it is caught in a vice. Caught. Hurting. Now I leave it. Now it's free again. What's the difference? The only difference in both cases was what was happening before. Now the same thing is happening at the mental level. If you're agitated and the agitations quickly come down, you will call that state happiness. This experience has no intrinsic value. Before the agitations, the very state prevailed. That very state prevailed. You were in that state before the agitation started. Imagine a placid lake. We throw a stone in it. That agitates the waters. We wait. The agitation subsides. The lake returns to its original placid state. We claim that it is now peaceful. It is the same mentally. We agitate ourselves and then the agitation subsides. It's a bit of a mug's game. any state can be called happiness. All it requires is that the agitations increase and then subside. I'm going to give you a minute to think about that. Yes, Deepak.
Um, it is not really a counter to the point, but I was thinking sometimes it is not like we are anticipating or expecting something, but we just get a news. For example, I suddenly get a news that my cousin was like she qualified her IS or something. That has not been in my mind for any period of time, but when I hear it, suddenly I feel very happy. So, can I infer from that that there is a constant level of agitation that because I have been so used to it, I didn't even notice? Because for me, I was in a neutral state, I was jolly, and when I heard it, I suddenly am very happy out of nowhere. So, was there a level of agitation always present that I never noticed?
That is, yes, that is always there. That is a fact of our life. We don't realize that we are agitated. Most people, in fact, the more agitated you are, the more you claim to be peaceful. Like, when you're talking about a very angry person, then you say, don't be angry. Who told you I'm angry? I mean, it gets even more like, why are you saying I'm angry? I'm not angry at all. Okay, you're not angry. अब मैं क्या करूं? So this is a generally true statement that we are not aware of our agitations. And we're not aware of them because they're there all the time. Just like we are not aware of air because it's there all the time. But some change has to take place before we become aware. But I don't. That is correct. But what is its connection to feeling happy at a sudden good news, which you had not even thought about? That is not established, right? I mean, there's no connection between these two. So you have to assume, in fact, sudden good news for that individual, right? Everybody hearing that their cousin got admission somewhere will not be happy. So there is an internal desire, obviously, there isn't. There's only one cause for happiness. Your desire has to be met. If it's a cousin that you are fighting with, you'll be most unhappy. He did so well. How dare he? So it has to trigger something from within, otherwise, it's not going to happen. So it is a reaction to something that is giving forth that. Now, that you're generally agitated, that's just a given. But why is it that some things come to us and then we get a certain reaction and then something else comes, a different type of reaction? It just depends on whether you're increasing or decreasing the agitation.
So, thinking about that happiness from this context, uh, how do we explain it without the presence of agitation?
You have to explain it only with the presence of desire. There was a desire within.
Mm.
There is no other explanation for happiness at any time. This is the only explanation. Unless there's a desire that is fulfilled, you're never going to feel happy. But you will then say, obviously argue that, but I didn't know I had this desire. The thing is, it's not that you desired her to get admission, her or him to get admission. What your desire is always is all those who you like, they should do well. And all those who you don't like should do badly. So It could have been her marriage, it could have been her whatever, it didn't matter what that thing was. I'm just giving an example of a non-specific desire. Because you can always argue that, but I never had it. I didn't even think that she would. I mean, I had no thought that she was going to get that admission. So, but this is an example of a non-specific desire. Could be a non-specific. Similarly, the other side, you're unhappy that she or he got it, and because I don't like the person, so all bad things that happen to that person.
Thank you.
All right, shall we continue? The contrast created between the agitations and their subsiding is the experience of happiness. Thus, the greater the contrast experience, the greater will be the claim of the individual for happiness. A continued and stable calmness does not evoke that feeling of excitement as does the sudden drop. I hope you're able to see that somebody who's generally calm will not claim the happiness because there's no drop. The person who's agitated will claim the happiness because the drop is so much. The drop is only the return to the original or prior state. Thus, one cannot claim that a person who is always calm is not happy. He experiences a steady, deep state of deeper, more lasting happiness. The experience of happiness depends on the nature of the agitation that came before it. Thus, we call happiness by various names such as joy, cheer, exhilaration, satisfaction, bliss, calmness, serenity, etc. In truth, they are the same. The nuances of the words arise due to the comparison to the previous state. For example, fear gives rise to relief, competition to exhilaration, stress to calmness, etc. I hope you're able to see this difference. Suppose you're terrified about something, and for some reason that fear goes away. What you experience is relief. What you experience, you will call relief. Suppose you're in a competition and you win. Now you will call this exhilaration. Right? So, based on what was the previous experience, this experience will get its name. Thus, for this philosophical discussion, we will use all synonyms interchangeably. That's why we're going to use them interchangeably. Visitors to religious places speak of their experience of deep peace there, especially if they are normally highly agitated. But for a calm person, holy places do not provide such a dramatic contrast. Hence, advanced spiritual seekers do not need to frequent places of worship. Generally, they tend not to court change because the contrast doesn't feel so significant. For the same reason, they are less averse to change too. So neither are they courting change, nor are they averse to it because it's not really making so much of a difference. If it stays the same, they're happy. And if it changes also, they're still happy. So it's not making that much of a difference. Though some people want just the way it is. And some people want it very different. Now these people will feel it a lot more. Restless teenagers, on the other hand, find certain things awesome or absolutely hate other things. You hear how teenagers talk. It's awesome. It's fantastic. And I don't know, they use words which are, over the top, really. They hate it and they love it. They experience a dramatic contrast between different objects and situations. When the agitation is very high, it needs a strong stimulus to return to calmness. Hence the need for loud music, dance gyrations, and strong tasting food. If that agitation is very high and something very calm and placid comes, then you're not going to enjoy it because it has not quelled the agitation. So you need something dramatic. You see these kids, what kind of music do they like? Do they like soft, soothing music? No, never. They say, what the Bude logon ka music, they'll say. Well, what is it that they want? They want noise. They're going to go to the concert. They're going to drink. They're going to dance. They're going to scream. After all this, then they will feel calm. Because strong stimulus. And people also taste, unless it's a very strong taste. Very bitter, very sweet, very pungent, very something. No, it doesn't do anything for them. Fast cars, dangerous sports, etc., are needed for their forceful stimuli that jerk the mind back from its agitation. The more agitated you are, the more drama you're going to need for it to come back. So we often confuse the feeling of happiness with being happy. Sorrow seems to be our only route to happiness. Does it need to be so? Okay, so is this portion clear? What are we saying so far? That it's a contrast. That contrast is what gives the feeling. Now, how much will you need depends on your mental state. The more agitated, the more you're going to need drama. And you're going to feel more happy also. The less agitations, the less drama you need, and you don't claim so much happiness. So somebody asks a happy person, "Are you happy?" Like, yeah, I guess so. He doesn't know. It doesn't know what it means to say, "Are you unhappy?" I don't think so. I mean, like, it's not so much drama happening. But when there is a lot of agitation, you need that. You see even in the films, you see it. Like in the old films, one lady and one man will be singing something. Sometimes it is only the lady or it is only the man. They're singing all about love, but they're all alone. And everybody felt very happy and went. Now what? Then what happened over a period of time? There used to 30 dancers, 40 dancers. There is the lady, there is the boy, there is a 40 dancers behind them. And they're all going for it. And then they were happy. Then what happens? Even that is not enough. Now, this lady and this man and all these 40 dancers have to be in a different scene every 1 second. Then people. And it's called agitation square. And when the agitation square, then people say, very nice, oh, we really enjoyed the movie. So, why we experience happiness is the previous state should have been unhappy. Unhappy means not unhappy, but agitated. So it seems that you can never be happy unless you're unhappy. You can never be calm unless you're agitated. You'll never experience that. So the author asked the question, is that necessary? Is it necessary to always be agitated and then become calm? Now we'll see. Let's see what Mahesh has to show us. Am I happy? Would we call ourselves happy people? If I honestly claim to be happy, am I? Is there a universal way to measure or compare happiness? It is such a subjective feeling that is difficult to find universal standards. But consider the chart of agitations below. You can see this chart, right? It's 0 and 100%. So let's say a person is at 60%. You ask the person, are you happy? Okay, I'm fine. Then you said, then his agitations, happen and something happens and his agitations become 70%. Then he live with 70% agitations, is very agitated. After some time, whatever the problem is goes away and he comes back to 60%. Now, when he's at 60%, which is the same state he was in originally, he will claim this to be happy. But it's not. It's the same state he was in originally. To really, for him to know happiness, he will have to go to 50% somehow. That going from 60% to 50% is spiritual growth. Then he will suddenly say, oh, this is happiness. I didn't even know. I didn't know that this existed. I didn't know that one could feel this way. So let's read the text now. Suppose a person is usually at 60% agitation. He believes that state to be normal. If he faces an additional problem, his agitations go up to 70%. That additional 10% makes him believe he's unhappy or stressed. When his agitations revert to 60%, he reports that he is very happy. This is clear, right? A young man is going about his usual life. This is an example explaining that idea. A young man is going about his usual life. One day he receives the news that his father has had a heart attack. Suddenly, life changes. He rushes to the hospital, arrange funds, take care of his mother, etc. It's a period of stress and strain. His father is in the ICU. The doctors are not sure if he will survive. A few days later, his father starts getting better. Slowly, everything comes back to normal. His father returns cured from the hospital. Life comes back to what it was. The person will report that he is now happy. But notice what happened. He was living a particular life, went through a problem, the problem was solved, and he returned to his normal life. This return is what he calls happy, though it is the same state he was in before the issue started. He is back to his 60% agitation. One interesting question to ponder is, before the agitation accelerated, was he happy? Later, when he claims happiness, has he not returned to the same prior condition? So the aggravated agitation merely made him appreciate his usual state. And we call that gaining happiness. Wouldn't it be easier to recognize this right now rather than undertake a whole rigmarole only to eventually return here? Yeah, Momita.
But we do need a challenge to um, to be productive. So in that sense, life is only meaningful or useful when we have challenges.
Right. Correct. I agree. What are you finding a contradiction? You're looking so troubled by it. So what you're saying is right. Of course, we need challenges. And don't we take them up?
Yeah, but like then if nothing changes, that you know that means our happiness state was 60. We took up the challenge. It rose. No, our agitation was at 60. We take on a challenge. It rises to 70. And once the challenge is done, we are back to 60. And we're, in some sense, deluding ourselves that we achieved something.
No, you are confusing happiness and productivity. If you take up a challenge, what we hope will happen, if you take up a noble challenge, what we hope will happen is that 60% goes to 50. It doesn't go to 70. It's not that you will take up the challenge, get agitated, and return to this state. What,
Mhm.
at least as part of sadhana, should happen is you are at 60, you take up the challenge, you go to 62, 363 because it is a bit of a challenge, and then you, it's not when you achieve it, but when you're able to handle that challenge, you now come down to 50. Oh, well, that may be too much. Let's say you go down to 57, 58. So
But this is true. Sorry.
So that is the difference we are drawing. I mean, we are not yet drawn it, but we will eventually draw it. Taking up a challenge is a good thing, a noble challenge, obviously, not just like, you are doing better than me, I will do better than you and show you. Not like that. Because that will go to 60, 70 and come back to 60. So we want to head in the opposite direction. That's what we are
So,
hoping.
so then rajasic problems, which are selfish um, and are taken on willingly as challenges to prove something to themselves, then these are the ones that are being discussed.
No, no. We are talking not of challenges, we're talking about a problem that comes to you and you get agitated. You're talking about a conscious action that you have taken to grow, assumably. It could be rajasic in the sense that, I don't know, maybe if Mukesh Ambani decides that I have, what, I don't know, how much does he have? Like I have 100, or like I have some billions, and I want my company to be double those billions. And he consciously plans and works. Then there's no reason for him to get agitated about it. It's a challenge. It's something he has chosen to do, and he's doing it. But if a problem comes to him, one of his sons don't do well or something, now he's getting all worked up about it. Then the son's problem, whatever it is, comes to normal. Let's say son wanted to marry somebody, and then that lady was not agreeing, and then finally the lady agreed, and this whole thing came, and then finally they got married. He's very happy with it. So that is that delusion you're talking about.
But rajasic action is not like that. It is because the challenges we give ourselves from with selfish goals leads to agitation, and then when we achieve something, we are momentarily, maybe our agitations are lower than they were earlier. So that is also a thing.
It will be if it is not. Remember, we're talking. You're using the word goal, so I'm going with goal. If you have even a selfish goal and you work for it, your agitations will come. But when you get carried away by desires, that's when all hell breaks loose.
Okay. Okay.
So, and in this case, we're only talking about a problem comes and then he gets all worked up and then he comes back to his normal state. It's not
So
really.
here we are looking at the nature of happiness, what we call to be, what we are, which we haven't considered. That
We haven't considered that what we are calling happiness is nothing but the same state because it's just I'm here, my problem comes, my problem goes, I'm back here. Now the problem comes, I go up there, I come back here. That problem, I'm not doing anything, I'm just staying. In the Gita, he says, and we are going to do it, I think, on Sunday this time, that the sattvic go up and the rajasic stay in the middle. Where they are, they're just there. They go up, they come down, they come, they come. Like if they are at 60, they go to 70, agitation, come back to 60. Again, something else happens, again go up. Basically they're in the middling, they say. They just stay in the middle. But if you do it the sattvic way, then your 60 should come to 50 with taking up challenges, with stretching yourself in service, with stretching yourself with being objective, doing that stretch. So now it's not coming back to the same 60. Hopefully it's going to 59, 58, hopefully, if we're doing it correctly.
thank you.
Yes, Bharat?
Janki ji, so the goal-oriented Rajasic people will stay in the middle, right? People who still get carried away will go down because the agitations will keep on rising.
Yeah, I mean, they go down means they go into tamas. So, and therefore they go down. Tamas goes down, sattva goes up, and rajas stays in the middle. Okay, so you can take an example of, let's say, an executive. He's working all his life, then he comes to 60, right? So now, when he was working, he was forced to be objective, he was forced to be disciplined, he's forced to be all that. So he goes up, he goes down at that 60, 70, 60, 70, 60, 70. He's doing all that now. Then he retires. Now he goes into tamas. And that's how he goes down. He's stopped work. So when you are very, or what they call burnout, or just exhausted with the action, or just can't do this action anymore. What do you say? They have this word, I'm done with it. They say, I'm done with it. So it's okay. I can't do this anymore. So what is going down is that tamasic element has come up and therefore they're going down. Rajasic guys stay in the middle. They switch over to tamas, or the tamas in their personality takes over. Anyway, that we can discuss on Sunday. Here, the important thing for us to understand is that we are at a certain level. We go through something and then we come down to the same level. So that's what is called a mug's game, right? So, okay, I'm very happy now, but you were in this situation to begin with. So that is the critical thing. Once you are able to understand that, even when the problem comes, you realize that, look, anyway, this problem is going to get sorted one way or the other, right? And then my life is going to come back to this. Why don't I just stay over here? I mean, that doesn't mean I don't do anything. I do everything I need to do, of course, but not with the sense of agitation, not with the sense of, if this happens, then everything is going to be great. Everybody feels that just this has to happen, then everything. If I'm ill, then I have to become healthy. If I'm poor, then I have to become rich. If I'm not married, I have to get married. If I'm married, then I have to, no, I'm sorry. Then I have to be happy
For
with
some
it.
people.
Yes. So each person has his own theory of what is going to bring that happiness. So the thing is, all of that is nonsensical because it's just bringing you back to where you are. That's the whole point.
Thank you.
Okay, so am I agitated? Am I agitated? When do we ever become happier? Okay, this much is established, right? That what we call happiness is only the return to the original state, the prior state. So now, what is the concept of becoming happier? Again, see the chart above. If that young man ever experiences the state of 50% agitations, he will realize that his erstwhile 60% state is unhappiness. He has now experienced a happiness he never knew existed. But he cannot know that 60% was agitation until his agitation is reduced further. The reason we claim to be happy is because we have never experienced lower levels of agitations. Our normal level is what we believe to be common to all. If you get it, your hair should stand on end. All the happiness I ever got, just returning to what it originally was. But there is a state which we may not know, or which we may have experienced. Somehow you may have at some point, grown, and then you found a different level of happiness. And you realize that, oh, I didn't even know this. was there. Then, and you will never go back to the erstwhile state. That's why they say, no, if you take a step forward in spiritual life, there's no way you can go back. Sometimes it seems very irritating to us that we have taken the step forward. Because now that you have taken the step forward, you've opened a basket of another Pandora's box you've opened. Now you can't, like some people say, okay, now that, okay, it's so irritating to try and decide what is reality and what is the truth and what is Brahman and all. Can't we just go back? We were very happy before. Can't we just go back? Like, how is that even possible? If the child has become a teenager, now the teenager cannot fight with his girlfriend, whatever it is, and then say, no, I'll go back to playing with dinky toys. It can't be done. Because even this level of agitation which you have is a different experience from what that child, between the child and the teenager, is very easy to understand. That agitated teenager will never go back to playing with toys. Because he's already experienced a better joy and he now, that's doing nothing for him. It means nothing to him. He can't do it anymore. So every step you take forward, there's no way you can come back. Every step. The problem always is we don't know there's a step to be taken forward. How would you know? It's the whole problem. Like if you're at 60% agitation, like for instance, whatever level of agitations any one of us are at, can we say, are we at 60? Are we at 50? Are we at 80? You can never say that, right? You can only say that somehow I'm experiencing something better than what I used to. Right? So maybe you came down from 90 to 80. Maybe you went from 30 to 20. You never know. Until you hit zero, there's no way you can. You can only tell that there is a different state. But you cannot tell how far or how close you are to zero. Sad, no? It'd be nice if we could tell. So at least we would know how far, how much further we have to go. That's the whole problem, right? See, Ravana claims to be happy. Because you ask Ravana, he's sitting in his court and they're all dancing and singing or whatever or not they're doing over there. And he is drinking and whatever is going on. This is great. This is living life, man. Very happy. Ram also is very happy. But every one of us can tell the difference between Ravana's happiness and Ram's happiness. Ram is also sitting in his court. He may also be watching a dance performance. But the whole experience is so different. Deep Raj, a lot of people claim that they were happy when they were younger and some want to go back to the good old days. Does this indicate no spiritual growth? No, it just indicates bad memory. That's all it indicates. Actually, nobody will go back. So you say, okay, those days were very good. Whatever, what did you do then? I used to play in the field, and I had a little car which I used to play with in the field. Okay, take a little car you can afford to buy. Take that little car, go to the field, and go and enjoy then. They don't get it. It's like even after living through it, we don't get it. So it's just bad memory. We all say, our days in childhood were good. But please note, when you were a child, is that what you were thinking? You were thinking, when I grow up, I will not have to listen to anybody. When I grow up, this and that. Honestly, you were thinking then. You were not saying, oh, I'm so happy. You were saying, see, mommy is not letting me play this game. Daddy is being so strict with me. My elder brother is bullying me. A jar problems we had. But when we grow up, we say, oh, that is so good. For all those who think it's so good, go and do those things and see what happens. It's just not getting it. In spite of living through it. Because so nothing to do with spiritual growth. It is that selective memory. You forget how you felt then, how you were like cribbing about your marks or cribbing about your friends or whatever. Now you look back and say, so cute. That time it was really cribbing. That's one. And secondly, if you really think it's so good, go do those things. Go and play your gulli danda. How many days will you play? So it's like it's not got nothing to do with spiritual growth. It's just bad memory and bad reasoning. Because if they had undergone spiritual growth, their previous state's problems will be apparent to them. No, just memory is enough. No spiritual growth is required between in nature's growth. Nature gives you automatic growth from childhood to adult. So that you don't need spiritual. That is nature is handling it for you. So nowadays I find nature is not handling it. Many people in their 40s are also living like teenagers only. What happened? Never grew up. I'm still longing for whatever it is.
Prakriti has also given up at this point.
Yeah, I think Prakriti has also given up. People don't grow up anymore. No. Okay, is that okay? So it's got nothing to do with spiritual growth then. Okay, so let's go.
Janki, just one thing you said, people don't grow up anymore. Can you elaborate? This means they don't want to.
No,
Who doesn't want
why
to?
don't you look at people and you find them quite childish? Like, at least become an adult, which on. Come on, I don't have to take it so seriously. It's half a joke. It's like, I mean, you become 35, 40, 45 years old and still like you're living a teenager's life only. You may be just that irresponsible or just that still seeking. Teenage pleasures. As if you never made that transition into adulthood. Like, you know how in India, at least there is the, yeah, bacha acha nahi, not behaving well. Okay, so the 25-year-old guy, he's not growing up only. तो उसका क्या करेंगे क्या solution है इंडिया में तो common solution है 25-year-old boy is not behaving well, what should you do with him?
Life sentence, marriage.
उसकी शादी कर दो फिर सब ठीक हो जाएगा.
Yeah.
Right, that is their general concept in life. So why? Because the belief is that जिम्मेदारी आएगी तो खुद ही sensible हो जाएगा. So some people, yeah, you throw them into जिम्मेदारी तो थोड़े responsible हो जाते हैं. Some people उसके बाद भी नहीं responsible होते. So it's like as if teenagers are, they're like irresponsible, they're all interested in fun, they're all interested in तुझे क्या मिला मुझे क्या मिला उसने क्या बोला,
So it's lack of intellectual growth.
Yeah,
or
like
what?
growth only. अभी intellect भी नहीं बोल सकते, grow ही नहीं हुआ, तो अभी बच्चे ही है. Like so. And then you find even in adults, you see the difference. Like some people, they take things in a very mature, stable manner. Some people, कुछ भी हो गया तो they are jumping like a popcorn on a hot tawa. If you want to solve a problem, you have to settle down, not start jumping. That is the first rule of solving a problem. So slowly, I mean, you can see that gradation, right? So Swamiji used to say, when you are all walking, I feel some 2-year-old has walked in, one 3-year-old has walked in, and then some of you are 7, 8 years old, and we are also very proud that we called us 7, 8-year-old. Like it seems so childish. What are the words? You can't even get angry because it's almost cute, Very cute.
People who are behaving of whatever direction, they don't know. According to them, they are doing the right thing.
Yeah, of course. Every one of us feels we are right. That is common. to all humans. We think we are right, everybody else is wrong. Those few people who agree with us, वो तो intelligent लोग हैं. And those who don't agree with us, वो तो dumb लोग हैं. This is our common, this is common across the board for all humans. Very rarely you find a person who, when somebody doesn't agree with them, they appreciate that person. Appreciate means they still find that person worthy of respect. Remember that Abraham Lincoln story we had often spoken about? Remember?
Maybe instant reaction will be that you don't approve of it, but if you really think about it, then you can feel the difference.
People can differ, right? In
Mm.
fact, that we all differ is a good thing. Because you know what they say, when everybody thinks the same, nobody is thinking. So it's a good thing that there are differences. That's why diversity is a really good thing in life. That there are all sorts of different people with all sorts of different opinions, all sorts of different views. Then when you bring them all to the table, you will be able to get the best one there. But the thing is, we don't want the best one. We want my one. So we are not able to take advantage of diversity. So it's very good that we disagree. It's a good thing. And it is not even necessary that we eventually agree. Like if you and your husband disagree on something, okay, let's say one of you is a spender, one of you is a saver, right? And this is common in any two people. So one who's a spender will always want to spend, the one who's a saver will always want to save. Now this works very well for the team because if there is one of them are at least one is objective, the right decision will be made each time because then you're on the center, right?
Right.
Both are like, what I'm saying is correct. And then you rip the whole thing. You won't be able to use the, what should I say, use the talents of others for the welfare of the group. So, shall we continue? So, we believe our normal level is common to all. Like whatever I am feeling, everybody else is feeling. That's our unconscious belief. To know that one is not happy is itself a step forward. We seem to look upon sorrow that as if, let's pretend it doesn't exist. But actually, if you recognize the condition, it's a step forward. It is difficult to notice. The most miserable people believe they are happy. This is called acclimatization. When one knows no better, sorrow becomes happiness, the norm. Frightening. Slum dwellers are inured to the dirt all around, largely because they have not experienced anything better. People who live in the slums, how do they live there? How is it possible to live in that stench, in that dirt? This question you and I have, we don't have. They live there, right? Got used to it, they're acclimatized to it, they no longer notice it. But when they do, the dirt will start bothering them. When we're accustomed to agitations, we take them as normal. It's a very sad thing. The human being is very capable of getting used to things. And that used to takes away the sting of the pain, but keeps you in that bad condition. It's a very, very sad thing. So you get so used to it. It's like people who live in messy houses. There's one family I know, very funny. They don't like me coming to their house. Because when I go to their house, I understand, they start cleaning the place up. That means, so if I ever land up there by surprise, which I of course will not do, but if I do, they'll get a heart attack, I think. Because they actually tell me, no, you don't come, okay? We will come this evening and meet you. Okay, fine, come and meet me. I mean, and if they enter the house when it's a big mess, they say things like, it's not a mess, this is very clean. Oh, it's a mess. So the thing is, that means when they're living at home, when it's so cute when I go to their house, I know, I mean, it is evident that it has just been cleaned. It is like evident. Almost the pocha cup thing is still wet. You can imagine a last minute cleaning something. The thing is, the rest of the time, whatever, they must be living in a mess, right? And they're okay with it. Completely okay with it. You don't clean your house because other people are coming. You clean your house because you are living there. I find in India, at least, it's very strange. One contractor, I mean, they call themselves designers, but really they are contractors. She told me that in the bedroom, it doesn't matter because nobody's coming to see. It's okay if this thing went wrong because nobody's coming to see. I am seeing. Can I not see? I'm the one who paid the lakhs for it, so better be okay for me to see. This concept that I clean my room because someone is going to see it. So I hope you're understanding the mechanism here. Dirt is bad for everybody. I mean, everybody notices until you're so used to it that you no longer notice. Okay? Suppose you're having a friction in the relationship. It is a stress to everybody. But some people live with so much friction and no longer notice it. Yesterday, when somebody was talking about a pain that they have, he went through surgery and the surgery got messed up. And for the last almost 20 years, he said, not a single day has gone without the pain. But now I can live with it. It's so true, This is how we human beings get used to things. We get used to things that we should not be getting used to. Otherwise, how do us people who live in Mumbai in all this mess, how do we put up with it? We're used to it. Frightening, no? And now think of this happening internally. We're used to the mess inside. We're used to the confusion, we're used to the indecision, we're used to the procrastination, we're used to the stubbornness, we're used to the agitation, we're used to it all. We should take a picture of Jayashree now. You understand it is a frightening thing. If I have any negative quality, that negative quality is not bothering me, is it? I'm used to it. I'm used to that. What do you say to that? Therefore, to know that you're not happy is a step forward. When the slum dweller hates that he stays there, he will move out of it. We are all agitated. It is merely the degree that is different. Only self-realized masters have reached zero agitations. As we approach zero agitations, we experience a bliss like never before. We breathe an ethereal air, in the words of William Wordsworth. We perceive that those who claim to be and believe themselves to be happy really aren't. Thus, we see why the scriptures say there is no happiness in the world. Though enlightened masters have said we are all unhappy, we usually don't understand them and insist that we are quite happy. But desires and happiness cannot coexist. If you have a desire, you cannot be happy. Desires and happiness cannot coexist. The problem is when you say this, people say, okay, let me not have a desire and suppress the desire. That's not a solution. You can't suppress the desire. If it's there, it's there. So it's tough, but we have to wind our way through it. We can't avoid it. Okay. So, yes, Taruna.
Ma'am, in the previous example where we said if your hand is pressed and before that it was free and now again it is free, we see it as happiness. But we didn't see that earlier thing, it's the same thing. And why don't we realize that we are happy? And again, and now in the different example, we are saying to know that we are not happy is a step forward. So these look contradictory.
Why? In both cases, we don't know that we're happy and we don't know that we're unhappy. Both are true.
Okay, so these are the examples of happy and unhappiness.
In either case, we do not understand. When we are at 60%, we don't understand that that is the best I'm capable of at the moment until it becomes 70 and comes to 60. At 60, I don't understand that I'm 60 also agitation. I can go to 50. Both the happiness and the unhappiness of 60, I don't seem to get.
Okay. Now get it. Right.
All right. Hariam.
Hariom, Rinkesh.
Hariam Janki. Thank you.
Hariom.